Hi guys, how are you doing? And how much did you buy fuel for this morning? Was it 158 naira or 161? Or was it even higher? We live in interesting times indeed, and best believe it is about to get even more interesting, like crazy, crazy interesting. Because you see this fuel price thing, it is about to get worse. We're only just starting. And I'll tell you why. Now, do you guys remember sometime in 2012? I think that was the 1st of January 2012. Then we woke up to a beautiful message from Jonathan. Hi, my country people. How are you doing? Well, it's no more 65 naira. We're pulling fuel subsidy. It is now 106. No, it's now 145 naira. And we all went berserk. No, we can take that. No, no, no. And we occupied the streets of Lagos and everywhere, shut down the economy. And then Jonathan sort of cowered a bit and met us halfway, and we started buying fuel for 97 naira. Do you guys remember that? 2012. Yeah, okay. That is when all of this started. All of these events that led to where we are today as regards the price of fuel. As long as I'm concerned, that's where it started from. Because prior to then, government was paying fuel subsidy and paying happily. We didn't even talk about it in the public. Like we didn't even know it was happening. We just knew that okay, fuel price was this amount. Then in 2012, Jonathan said, I'm not paying that anymore. I'm not paying fuel subsidy anymore. I'm pulling it. Pay your full cost of fuel. Just in case you don't know what fuel subsidy is, I'm going to use an example to explain that. So let's imagine that you work for a company, say company XYZ, and your company decides they want to bring in a food vendor to be selling food for the staff in the office, and they invite an Iyabasira, and then Iyabasira brings a price list. She has on there soup and swallow, 1,000 naira is serving, rice and stew, 800 naira is serving, and the list goes on and on. And then your company says, hell no, this is too much. My staff cannot pay this much to eat. What's the last you would go? What's the lowest you would go, rather? Jolly, jolly. And the woman is like, okay, I can do 900 for soup and swallow, and for rice and stew, I can do 700. And then your company goes, great. See what you do. For every time you come into here to sell food to my staff, you would take only 500 naira from them, irrespective of what they eat. So for your rice and stew, I'll pay you the extra 200. And for soup and swallow, I'll pay you the 900, the extra 400 rather. See, what your company is doing is that your company is subsidizing your meals. So what that extra 200, that extra 400 that your company pays on your bowls of rice and swallow respectively is called subsidy. So this is exactly what the federal government was doing, but with fuel. So they would say to the fuel marketers, bring in your product, sell to Nigerians at this amount, 65, 147, 145, 97, depending on what the government chose. And then the government would pay the balance. That's just what the government was doing. So Jonathan said, "No, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm spending so much on paying fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy bill keeps going up and up, and I don't understand why. There is too much corruption in the system." And how was this corruption perpetuated? One of the ways was that some marketers will bring goods to the country. Maybe their ship will like deck at the wharf in say Apapa, for instance. They would do all the paperwork that shows that they've actually imported this quantity of fuel into the country. Once they are done with the paperwork, they just do an about turn and take that fuel to say Ghana or Cameroon, just anywhere else where there is no subsidy, and sell at its full value. Take the money from there, come back home, take the money from the government, and then win both ways. That is why the fuel subsidy bill in Nigeria kept going up, and there was no commensurate increment in the consumption of fuel domestically. So the Jonathan Amnishon said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And we said, no, you have to. Because we don't understand what you're saying. We are not the ones who are being corrupt here. You can't punish us. Something is wrong, fix it. Do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. Now, subsidy is not a bad thing. In all fairness, a lot of governments around the world use subsidy to do a lot of things for their people. But when you start to pay subsidy on imports, There's a couple of bad economics going on there, but that's not something I want to discuss today. So we'll just keep going. That is what the Jonathan administration said, and that is why they decided to pull subsidy. But apparently, we didn't want that, and they listened to us, and so they met us halfway, put the price at 97 naira, and we were living happily ever after, or kind of happily ever. And then our after didn't last so long because in 2016, the Buhari administration announced again that fuel price was going to hit 141. And what the Minister of Petroleum then said was that the rise in price was supposed to encourage more people to bring in the product, make it more competitive, that we should just wait, brace up, wait, that the price would come down, the forces of demand and supply will knock down the price, and then it will keep going down to the lowest you can ever imagine. And now, did you hear what I just said? The forces of demand and supply would knock down price. Now, note that phrase because we'll get back to it very soon. But what happened? No force of demand and supply knocked down nothing. Started buying at 141. In some quarters of the government, we're hearing subsidy has been removed. We're not paying it anymore. This one, that's why. A lot of things were going on, and we didn't do shit. We paid. And then sometime in April, because of the COVID-19, fuel demand globally went so low, and to a point where there were even rumors that people are giving out fuel, barrels of crude oil for free because they just wanted it to be taken off them. And then we started screaming, what's going on? And then reluctantly, grudgingly, we were told that we can buy fuel at 125 or 121 or thereabout. But that didn't last so long, did it? Because sometime last week, then again they came and said, not anymore. Now you have to pay 161 at the maximum for fuel. But what another thing they said that was interesting this time is that they have put subsidy, like for real, like they mean it. Like forget what we've ever said before. This time around, we've pulled it. We're not putting it back. It's not in the budget. We're not doing this anymore. And the marketers have a free hand to fix prices. And then we're like, okay, that doesn't sound so good. Then the PPPRA says, but not to worry, we're still here. We have a job. We're going to ensure that they don't make it too high for you. Now, what is too high based on their perception and what is too high for me? I don't think they're ever going to tally, but here we are. So, why do I say that this is about to get worse? Here's why. One, the PPPRA and the guarantee don't mean so much if you know Nigeria very well. Even when the government was paying fuel subsidy, the PPPRA could not ensure that all fuel stations sold at the subsidized rates. No. If you were to leave the major cities like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and go like a bit down to some states in the country, they were selling price at their own. They were selling fuel at their own rate. So when they come and make that promise, I can't take them seriously. They do not give me any succor because I know that I can't depend on them. So that's one reason why I don't think that we should be too hopeful about your promises. Number two, what this means for us is that whatever happens in the global oil market is going to hit us directly. There's no more cushion. There's no more, like nothing is protecting us from getting hit by the global oil politics and stuff. So at the lowest in a really long time, at the point where oil cost the lowest in a really long time, that's during the COVID period, where oil was some barrels in some quarters. We heard that some people were taking off barrels at $5. At that time, the least we could buy fuel for in this country was 121 naira. And the price of fuel in the international market has been going up since then. And the truth is, the higher it goes, the more expensive fuel would be here because it means that the higher the cost of purchasing the imported product and bringing it home, the higher it is that they're going to sell it to us. So, as more economies open up, as the demand for global fuel goes up and the price of fuel goes up, you better believe that you're going to be paying more for fuel domestically. That is one. Number two, these forces of demand and supply that they've promised us will knock down the price of fuel. Well, let us look into that together. So, what exactly is this thing? Using Gary, I'll just quickly run you through what it is. So, let's say you saw Gary. You don't, or you do, I don't know. But assuming that you do, you take your Gary to the market, and then you're there. Everyone in the market sells their Gary for 200, 220. Then you're thinking, I want to make the most out of this bag of Gary. So I'm selling mine at 280, or let's say 300 naira, right? Great. And your first customer comes, hi, how much is your Gary? 300 naira. Okay, now, thanks, bye. Second person, third person, fourth, they just keep passing you by. You don't need your pastor to give you a revelation shaking his head for you to know that, this thing I'm doing is not going to succeed. I best just bring down my price so I can sell my Gary. That's the force of demand and supply at play. And this same you, let's assume that you take beans to the market and you're selling it. You think, okay, I'm going to sell my beans at 200 naira. And then you find that a lot of people are coming to you to buy beans. 200 naira, you know. Before you know, you have a queue in front of you and you're wondering what's going on. Perhaps there is not so much beans in this market today. Maybe I can raise my price to 250. You could raise your price to 250 naira. And if you're right and there is a bit of scarcity in the market that day, there are fewer people selling beans that day, I promise you people are going to stick in that queue and buy it. So when they talk about the demand and supply forces bringing down price, they're talking about the buyers and the sellers and their interaction determining price, at what price goods would go for. Excuse me. That's just what it is. So now, why do I feel that this promise that they are making us with fuel, using this demand and supply, might not really play out? For me, it's just that I know that fuel is not Gary. Do you understand? Fuel is not Gary. It's not Gary in a lot of ways. It's not Gary. Number one, if I want to sell Gary today, it's very simple. I just need a few thousand naira. I buy Gary, get a bowl, pour the Gary into the bowl, make a cone shape, put a cup on it, put it on my balcony, and hey, I'm selling Gary. It's that easy. But it's not that easy if I want to sell fuel. If I want to import fuel, rather. There's a lot of money required in bringing in fuel, a lot of logistics and planning involved. So only a handful of people can actually import fuel into the country. So just because of that, the demand side has very little power. Because I know a lot of people that I can just flex my buyer power with. There are just a handful of them. So at some point, I'm going to have to settle. So that's one. Number two, if I walk into the market today, let's say I have a budget on me, and on that budget, I have there that Gary is 1,000 naira, and I'm assuming that a cup of Gary costs 200, and so with my 1,000 naira, I'm going to get myself 5 cups of Gary. When I go to the market, I meet the first buyer and they say, Gary's 300 naira. First seller rather, 300. Second seller, 300. Third seller, 300. I could just say, hell no, I'm not doing Gary today. It's too expensive. I'm going to do fufu instead. Or maybe I'll just do semovita, wheat. There are like a million, okay, not a million, there are lots of alternatives to Gary out there that I can just switch to. And if a lot of us are making that switch, it will not be long before the demand for Gary, the people buying Gary would reduce and the price of Gary too will come down. Do you understand? But I cannot go to the fuel station and say, okay, how much is a liter of fuel today? 150 naira. Oh, I can't do that. I think I'll just get kerosene today for my car. No, I can't. I have to buy it. So there are no alternatives to fuel in most of the cases. There are no alternatives rather to petrol. This is two. Number three, if Gary sellers wanted to form a union, how easy do you think it would be for them to control it? There are thousands of Gary sellers out there in the country. You can't control it. You cannot tell them this is how much I want all of you to sell, and if you sell lower than this, you're going to be penalized. You cannot control it. You can't even. It's not something that you can implement. But because there are just a handful of people importing fuel, and they already even have a union that we all know about, they can just sit in their union and say, we're selling fuel at this price. So matter of fact, what we just did now is that we moved the fixing of prices of fuel from the government to the marketing unions, to the union of fuel importers. That's just what it is, because they are going to fix the price. And because they're few, they can control themselves. They will implement that price they fixed. So it doesn't look like demand and supply, the force of demand and supply is going to really do much for us here. That's what I truly think. But then, that is my submission. What is yours? What do you think about this? Do you think it's gonna get better? Do you think it's a good move? Do you think it's fair for the people involved? Let's know what you think down there. And just so we play a little game, make it exciting. What do you think would be the price of fuel in December? I think that's where the fuel price, demand, supply, scarcity shit just happens a lot in the country. So, what do you think would be the price of fuel in December? Do let us know in the comment section. Let's know your guesses, your suggestions, your thoughts about it. And if you do get it right, if you're able to predict the price of fuel as at the 12th of December, then we will reward you with 30,000 naira to add to your Christmas shopping. So just go to the comment section and let us know what you think the fuel price will be as of the 12th of December 2020. And we will be taking your suggestions and your answers up until the 30th of September. So, what do you think the fuel price would be? Let us know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed my analysis and you want more of this, please like my Facebook page, Angry Black Woman, and you will get more of this. Thank you for listening and have a beautiful day.